Ready?
Yep. All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:30, and Dan, if you'll just note the roll, we can. And then item 3 is approval of the minutes from the August 6th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second? Second. Any corrections that people noticed? See none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been approved. Appearances, anybody that wishes to speak about an item that's not on the agenda? We have one observer in the room, nobody on Zoom, so we'll close the appearance section. There's no unfinished business, there's new business 6A, and that's the discussion and consideration of the 2026 Public Works operating budget request. And so, we'll give an overview, but for those of you that are new to this process, Public Works is a variety of different account areas, and Dan does a nice job of not only providing the line by line detail that we need, but also provides an overview of any of the key highlights of any changes, 500 or more, up or down, to help kind of point us in the right direction. So usually works best if you have that sheet in front of you and you follow along on the other sheet. So that's my tip.
And also included is what we call the narrative, so these sheets here. So if you go to a particular line item, you get an idea of what the money helps or what it helps pay for. We don't write everything in those descriptions that it pays for, but those are the main items. So those are included in your packet for reference as well. So the directive from above, they, through the mayor, administrator, and finance director, 3% increase for department budgets, including labor and non-labor, for the general fund items. For us, that's everything except for the 3 utility. Solid waste account is a general fund item, but they treat it somewhat differently. It's not an enterprise fund, but it's, I guess, multi-supported through general fund and something else, transportation aids maybe. Water, sewer, and stormwater funds, they also have that as a target for 3%. So that said, the draft budget for Public Works, water, storm, sewer, and solid waste was in the packet for your review. Every year, I highlight the operational items that we have direct control over in blue for operations and maintenance of each of the divisions. The ones in the 2026 proposed column that is not highlighted, those are filled in by the finance director. City level contractual obligations outside of our department, but are assigned to our budget. So as Alder Holmquist
All right.
okay.
Flashing star, does anybody use this a lot? Is that an AI companion?
Yeah. So I did, when I created this link,
Okay,
I
as long as you
created
know
the
it's
AI
a,
summary.
okay,
So I'll integrate it into a summary.
yes, some people like that, some people
Yeah.
don't. So.
Okay. This doesn't mean that you can't ask questions about other line items. If I can give you an answer, I will. If it's something for Mark or the city administrator that we need help with, I'll pass it on, but more than happy to answer any questions. So we'll dive in. The general building and plant, that's the city hall operating budget. The major changes for that account is the gas and electric utility. We are decreasing that by $2,000. When I do decreases like this, it's typically, if I can't justify keeping the money, then we bring it back down. If next year I need to readjust it, I'll adjust it back up. Because that $2,000 could be valuable to somewhere else in the city that has a general fund need, so. But that still factors in for the planned MG&E increase, so we're still good there. The water and sewer utilities increases by $1,000, that mainly accounts for the sewer increase. Stormwater utility, decreasing that by $500. Our outside services account, we're increasing that by $500, that's based on the need for extra cash. Our outside services for cleaning, we're increasing that by $3,750, and that accounts for the contractor increase. We have not increased the budget line for that since we started services with them about 7 years ago, maybe. And then the repair and maintenance services decreases by $3,301. Is there any questions for the general buildings and plant budget? The next one I have on the list here is the Public Works Administration, that's the engineering budget. Our outside services, we're reducing that by $2,000. That's the fund that we would pay outside engineers for any engineering services that is not covered by a capital budget project. So we're bringing that down a little bit. The Highway and Street Administration, there's no significant changes for that budget. Moving on to the shop machinery. Yes.
On the Highway and Street Administration, I see an increase of 1,000. Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm wrong.
Is that for health
Yeah,
insurance?
no, it's 100,
Okay.
no. I see.
Yeah, for professional.
And you guys haven't topped that out, you still think the 12 to 1,300 is sufficient?
That's mainly for Jeff.
Okay.
It covers his use for APWA. And any of the local
And the
conferences.
forestry stuff.
Those forestry.
Okay. Alright, thanks.
Shop machineries and building, that is for the DPW garage. You'll see the gas and electric utilities is going to increase by 4,800 next year. That accounts for the power that we won't generate with the solar panels. Those were removed this summer for the roof replacement project that we have going on. And I believe in the next few years, City Council might entertain doing something more at the garage for solar panels. But as of right now, we're making this adjustment to account for the increase in power.
As I recall, last time we talked about that, weren't the solar panels a third party?
Yep.
And it was up to them whether to put new ones up if they wanted to?
No, that's up to the city.
Okay.
I don't know the fine details of that. That's in Brad's area. But they own the equipment.
Right.
And then they have the lease.
And it's kind of towards the end of its
Yeah.
lease.
Yeah.
And so those were determined at council, like, they weren't, they didn't have, we're anticipating not enough life in them to purchase them from the third party.
Okay.
To put it back on as our own.
Right.
And apparently some of also how that they would be mounted with the new roofing
We
material.
avoided the warranty.
We wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
we didn't, so it's like, I put old panels, if I remember this right, on a new roof with the mounting system that was not consistent with the new roof.
Right. The benefit wouldn't have been there to remove them and build another structure to put them on. So I think that's why city leaders are looking at doing something new and different in the near future. New technology, so.
But the connection is still there, right? The feeding the power
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the grid into the grid
the
is
power
still
feed
there.
is there.
So theoretically, it is just a matter of replacing the panel.
I don't know if MG&E sees it that way, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We were kind of a special project back then.
Yeah, there might be a reconnection fee, but
Yeah,
Yeah, I think-
cities aren't allowed to do what we did, from my understanding.
yeah,
Our setup was unique. Yeah.
More to come in the future.
Water and sewer utilities, for the garage increases by 1,000, again, as the comforter. The sewer increases. The garage material and supply, increasing that by $5,000. And the repair and maintenance supply account increasing that by 3,000. Both of those are based on need. Any questions for that budget?
And I just have sort of a related question. When will the Public Works garage roof be ready to accept new solar panels? When is the roof scheduled to be completed?
The roof is the exterior is nearly complete right now. They just have gutter work to do. They move inside next month, to replace the insulation.
So it could be ready within weeks, yeah,
I
okay,
can't answer that honestly, because I know there's a warranty on the roof, and I think there might be.
I just put panels on my roof, it's not that,
Well, your roof is different
Very different.
than the garage
Yeah,
roof, but there's
technically it is. I
there's a
get that,
warranty
but-
period that we don't wanna, you know. We don't want that voided by putting panels on prematurely, so I think, I'd have to get the exact warranty. Coverage from Brad, but I believe once that's satisfied, then they're looking at least you can speak for city council. When you guys entertain it at council, whether to keep the panels or not, but I know there's a goal of putting more solar down there.
I mean, we already did make that decision.
To not right
To
now.
not
To
use the
not.
old panels.
Yeah.
But as far as the preparedness for new panels, could I just make that request now? And that there's not a request to staff section, I could hold.
No, not on the agenda.
Okay.
But
If you're making a request for solar panels, I would
No,
encourage,
no, I'm not. Dan mentioned that he would have to have Brad look into the warranty.
Yep.
Something, could you do that?
we will, yeah,
Okay.
that's automatic, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't need.
that's
more
already
action
in the
on that.
works happening.
But I will specifically get that answer for you.
Yeah,
on
thank
the
you.
warranty.
That'd be great, yeah.
But if you wanted to look into also
No, no, that's a,
doing solar
it's a
sooner than
bigger
later.
conversation, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But, I'm sorry, can you finish that sentence?
If you wanted to look into doing solar sooner than later, that would be a request likely through the mayor and city administrator. To
Yes,
then task it to Brad,
correct.
Dan/Brad to say, all right,
Council directive for us to, or if there's a directive from council for this committee to start that process.
Yeah.
Can I ask what kind of material that is on the roof? You have to remember.
I need to bring Brad in for that, that's his project.
It looks like a membrane.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
it is.
yeah, it's PVC or the other one. And I've got that same, I just had that same roof
Yeah.
put on my building, and they were fine with putting solar panels on top.
Yeah, I just don't,
Yeah,
yeah,
So,
I can't imagine a world in which it would not be fine, but
Yeah.
I mean, now in 2025. Is it the white roof that Brad was talking about?
Mhm.
Is that
Yes.
what this is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Which is specifically like, that's what you want when you have solar panels.
Okay, were there any additional questions for that shop? Shop budget? Okay. Moving on to the street maintenance and construction budget. Other personnel services decreases by $1,700, and that's based on program expense. That's our drug testing program, physicals, things like that. Street outside services, we are decreasing that by 14,000. When we do our chip sealing program, we haven't used that line item in probably 6 years. And that was increased last year as a one-time one-time deal, so we're gonna reallocate that funding to other accounts that we need it more in. The median and terrace maintenance decreases by $800. The street sweeping disposal, we're increasing that by $2,000 to account for the program disposal costs. And that's a 50% split with the stormwater utility. Street equipment maintenance and repair, we're increasing that by $1,500 based on need. Our fuels and additives, we are decreasing that by $3,000, and that's based on the 2026 forecast for fuel. They've been pretty accurate over the years. Street supplies, we are increasing that by $1,000 based on need. The snow and ice supplies, decreasing that by $6,000 based on the current inventory and our expected purchase quantity. Street sign repair and replacement, increasing that by $2,000 based on.
Back on the street equipment maintenance and the repair, you already spent over through 6 months, you spent 15,142. You're budgeting 15 for a whole year.
Yeah.
Is that because there's no more repair for, you do it all in the first half of the year?
No, a lot of that could be like a one-time, like replacing an engine.
Okay.
You, as one of our former mayors used to say, you can't budget for a broken bike. So, if we were to actually have a budget that accounted for a couple engine replacements and we don't actually do that, then we tie up funds in our budget that other departments could actually need. So if we have an engine replacement or a transmission replacement that is needed that let's say it's in November and we've exhausted our budget, they'll use reserve money for that. So, and I think last year we did replace an engine in one of the trucks, and I would say it's around $12,000.
Well, that would have been this year to make that 15.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do know we do have these oddball things that go down that we typically don't want to
Can't.
by budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sign there. The median and terrace maintenance, that's a line item that's always hovering around 5,000 to 7,000.
Mhm.
This year, we are budgeted 13,200, but we've only spent 5. And we're anticipating going up. This is a common comment that some of us receive. And I know it's different, sometimes you have the money there, but you don't have the personnel because they're doing other things.
Barnes is 4150. We buy mulch, flags, our solid waste transport fees out of there. The black wall flower replacement and landscaping. I don't have what the expense to date is in there.
Well, yeah, and this is only as accurate as a few months ago, of what cleared a few months ago.
Yeah.
And so it might be much more than that by now.
It is, I mean, when Mark puts this sheet together, and a lot of these line items could be either front end loaded or back end loaded. But if you want a detailed report, I can get you exactly what we spent on.
I just know
and
this
why
is
we're
an
increasing.
item that comes up a lot and has a possibility of maybe being one of those adopt a sign philosophy. And there's a small amount of money for the items that need to be purchased for the spot or whatever. Because if we're not using it here.
Well, this median and terrace maintenance, it's Monona Drive, Broadway. The sales entry feature.
For the stone wall.
And the stone walls. So
And stone walls, we get comments on.
you get some good comments and you get some bad comments.
All right, well, more to come. It's nice to know that there's actually some good dedicated funds to it.
Yeah.
It's not relying, the dedicated funds are not necessarily relying on our staff to do all the work.
Right.
Which is good to know.
And that's why we started up with Barnes a few years ago, because we couldn't keep up with them with the work that we were doing with our part-timers, and We're down to 2 part-timers because the funding hasn't increased because the area pay for summer mowers took off after COVID.
The county couldn't even hire enough.
So
Does that also apply to right of way maintenance? $24,000 budgeted, only 3 spent so far, 5 total last year, so, but the 2 previous years were right around that 24 range.
what's the number associated with that one?
For right of way maintenance, it's the 3rd row down. Spreadsheet.
115.
Oh, that's salaries. Yeah, that's not an operational line. That's crew work in the right of way.
Can you explain what that
Pay for the
is?
staff.
When the staff, when they complete their time card, they have to write down the code
What they were doing.
of what they were doing. So the way Mark does it is he will take a 3-year running history on an account, and if work shifts from one account to another, then he allocates the wage accordingly. So that right of way maintenance, you see the snow and ice, that's all based on how the work shakes out.
So to the question, it would be those staff time have been allocated elsewhere
Right.
and not allocated to this.
Because are
line.
you using barns for right of way, like you are for median?
Well, this right of way maintenance that you see at the top ending in 115, that's city staff. Whether if they're working in the right of way, if they're doing sidewalk maintenance, curb maintenance, street repair, sign repair, things like that. So I don't know on the timesheets what codes those are set at. But like I said, these are all based out of the spreadsheet that Mark maintains between him and Leo. So. The road-related facilities budget, the traffic control maintenance is decreasing by $1,800, and that's basically the account that we pay the city of Madison to maintain our traffic lights out of. Any questions on that one?
I'm just curious, what was the reason why it went up, traffic control maintenance? Do you recall like the reason why it has increased so much?
It increased a few years ago
Right,
when they had a new leader take over the program. Who paid more attention to the billing process.
okay,
That person left and went back to the DOT, and we have a new person, another new person now the past 2 years. And I think they have a different budgeting philosophy. So we still get the monthly bills, it's just not as detailed as they were in the past. So if that changes, then we will
sure,
raise it back up.
Yeah.
So. Okay, the next one would be forestry. Right-of-way tree removals decreases by $2,000. In the past, that was when we had a significant amount of ash tree removals. That'd be the cost for our staff to do the work back then. So our ash trees numbers are reduced, and so therefore we're reducing that required funding. The tree removals and care, that is our contract-based work. That increases by $7,000 based on demand for tree removals and inflationary cost increases, but Johnson Tree Care is usually every year quite busy. I mean, it never seems to go down, that demand for tree care, especially when it comes to limbs that are in power lines. That's the expensive component right there.
Does this include anything outside of right away or public works? Parks, does it
No.
include?
No, strictly in the
Excludes
terrace.
parks. And does this take care of storm damage too? Or is this only
It's in the right.
predictable? Well,
that
storm
might-
damage in right away. is what-
That might contain storm damage,
Yeah, right.
like if you have a hanger, that is like hanging in the power lines or something like that. Our crew is not trained to
You
work
guys
on the
don't
power
touch
lines,
those.
yeah, so we call Mike and his crew, plus he has all the specialized equipment for that. Usually, if storm damage, trees fall in the street or whatnot, our crew will do that. Even if it's a large tree, we'll bring in the loader and the grapple, things like that, but if it's something that's in the air that's too big for us to handle, Mike will come in. If we have storm damage, where the residential need is there, we have brought in Barnes in the past to assist us. And then I think it was the June storm 2 years ago. Barnes and city crew went through the city to pick that stuff up.
Yeah,
So that was a big one.
It comes up every year.
Yeah.
Brush collection is extremely expensive.
It is. And the very next line item, you'll see the brush pickup decrease by 6,581. We are going to be doing the Christmas tree collection with staff this year. Because it was getting to be over $7,500. And, as another way to help control costs, our crew's gonna do it. We're already accounted for in our 40-hour work week, so we're, as long as there's no snowstorms and whatnot, we're doing inside work, so we can add to the plate a little bit in January.
You can pile them all up in the dog park and light on fire. That could be it.
Check
could be
with
a
Sim
thing.
to see if you can
It's
do
not, I
that.
mean, I know they could have bonfire, you know,
You have
I would-
3,000 trees.
That'd be one hell of a bonfire.
right. I have a question about the forestry section. Am I missing it somewhere? I thought I saw something about, I see tree removals. I thought I saw something about tree planting, and maybe it's,
We do the planting in the capital budget.
okay,
Yeah,
That's
the
what I'm
operating
thinking
budget is, I believe,
Yeah.
strictly focuses on. the
yeah,
removal.
of course, thank you.
And what percentage of our ash trees are still standing? No.
I just asked Brad and Jeff this last week. I think we're down to probably about 10%. We removed quite a bit, over 800 trees, and I think we had an inventory somewhere around 1,000, give or take.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of trees that we took down. So. Any other questions for the forestry budget? Moving on, the next budget would be the solid waste and disposal. Okay, the recycling services is contractual based, increasing by 2,290. That's with Pelletier. We are planning 2,636 units for next year. We reduced that from the beginning of this year. You may recall that going into 2025, the solid waste ordinance changes that we made, we went from 8 multifamily units down to 4 in our program. So that's where we save a little bit of money on both the recycling and refuse collection costs. The yard waste services,
Dan,
yes,
what's a unit? You said we have so many
unit
units.
is a unit or a stop, basically one cart.
A cart, okay.
Yard waste services increases by $14,600. And that's due to a recent purchase from GFL. They bought what used to be Royal Container, LRS, bought out Royal a few years ago. Royal Container is just behind the shop. A few months ago, GFL bought all of the LRS units or businesses, and they immediately jacked up our dumpster changeout price. So,
And GFL, is that the same as Waste Management?
well, they're housed under the same property. So when Waste Management bought, was it Advanced Disposal
Yes.
back in the day?
I said, we have an expert.
As soon as Advanced Disposal sold, the staff bought GFL, or they franchised with GFL. GFL now is consuming smaller.
Yeah.
Waste
They
haulers.
just eat everybody.
And so,
Um,
and because of that, there's no other show in town that we could go to.
But you might recall when we entertained the capital budget, that hook truck that we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
That might be gaining some traction with the mayor.
Yeah.
Especially with this increase now.
Because then we could haul our own
Because
containers.
we
And
can
what
haul
was
our
that?
own.
With the
Yeah.
hook truck,
Oh,
we
right,
would
right,
pull our own
right.
containers out.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
we would buy our own dumpsters.
Yeah.
In a few years, and then we would have to pay $33,000 to have that service.
Yeah.
Cool. That 33 could be spent on buying our own dumpsters, and then we do our own
And
program.
emptying before they're like overflowing and require how many hours of work to clean up the site.
So.
Great idea.
That's the plan anyway, so. The refuse collection cost decreases by 17,545 due to the contract pricing. Again, for here, that's that reduction in service of the Apex units. Recycling and solid waste carts, we are adding $500 there just to get a few more replacement lids and wheels. So we still have adequate inventory of carts.
Dan, is there like just a short explanation for tipping fees, what that's all about and why we no longer pay them?
That specific line item went away when we moved away from our rebate program
Right.
with our new provider. Those tipping fees are now in with
It's all together.
the trash cost.
Yeah.
So when I had a friend who, their cart was destroyed, somebody ran into it, the city provides a new cart, right? But do they have to pay for it?
It all depends. If it was a cart that was in the street and it got destroyed, they'll have to pay for it.
That's what I thought.
If it's a cart that, was destroyed by the truck and it aged
That
out,
makes sense.
then we will probably pay for that because
That makes
the carts have 10-year warranty and they're supposed to be strong enough to live through that warranty. But most of our recycle carts are now aging out.
Yeah.
They have aged out, so it's all very, my new favorite word is situational. It depends on the situation or the circumstance.
Sure.
The nice thing with Pelletary now is their trucks are fitted with cameras, and so if there's a damaged cart, or if there's any other claim, the cart has, or the cameras have proven 100%
What really happened?
what really happened.
My friend's cart was hit by somebody else driving down the street, so
Yeah.
what do you do?
And the carts are $65, so it's a decent price,
Yeah.
so.
It's not a big.
Okay, moving on, the next budget would be our stormwater utility. The vehicle maintenance and repair line item will decrease by $1,500. Our GIS mapping program, we're planning to increase that by $1,635. That accounts for program cost increases, licenses and software. we're also hoping to, we've always had money in there to try and find a summer intern / summer part-time civil tech, and that's still the goal. We're kind of changing the duties for next year, and hopefully we can attract some money, but we have the GIS mapping program in all three of the utility budgets, and that cost is spread out evenly with all three. The street sweeping disposal, this is the other half of what we had in the street budget. $1,500 to account for the program disposal costs for street sweeping. And then the brush pickup, the decrease of $65.81. Christmas tree collection has to be done by staff. Any questions for stormwater?
And I just have a general question. Can you explain, I have asked this before and I apologize for my memory loss here. Can you explain to me at the top, the stormwater revenues? What is it that the city does to achieve or to earn those revenues?
The revenues are based on impervious
That's right,
equivalent units.
the percentage of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's right.
And they try to keep that fairly current. I believe every third year they review the impervious surface
Yeah.
on all the properties in the city.
Yeah, okay.
Clarification question, for street sweeping disposal, we use regenerative air sweepers, so, it's getting mostly particulates, but does that include leaf collection? What do you do with all the leaves?
The leaves that we collect with the street sweeper, we changed the configuration a little bit on the sweeper. We haul those to Purple Cow along with our leaf bag trucks.
And that's a separate expense?
Yeah.
Is there
Different
adjustment for the 800 ash trees that are no longer there, that didn't have the savings?
We've replaced those, obviously not with mature trees, but
The other trees that are still there are bigger.
yeah.
Yeah, they're still growing, yeah.
Our typical quantity, it doesn't change a whole lot from year to year. But the ash trees that were removed and the open areas in the terrace, Jeff does a really good job of filling those gaps. And we get a number of residents every year contacting us out of the blue requesting trees for their terrace area. Jeff will review it depending on available sunlight and existing canopy, things like that, but we try to stay up with the number of trees that we remove. So in time, as the canopy grows, our leaf inventory will grow as well.
But our volume of leaf disposal hasn't decreased even.
Not
with-
significantly, no.
Yeah.
No.
I think that's what you made that bill.
Yeah,
Indirectly, yeah, it was somewhat tongue in cheek, I realize it's probably not enough, but, it depends on how large the canopy is, mature trees, and
Right.
replacing them with immature trees, so, yeah.
Plus, over the years with those ash trees, they went from full canopy to 3/4 canopy to half canopy, so they died out and inventories kind of changed over the years, so.
and wasn't there sort of like a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 replacement ratio when a tree is removed? At least 2 are put back, or is it parks? I read that somewhere.
I don't believe that would be us.
Okay.
That's probably what.
It'd be
Okay.
probably parks, just because the available space in the terrace
Right.
is very
Yeah.
minimal with, for Monona. I mean, a lot of street trees,
Mhm.
so. Okay, any other questions for stormwater before we move on to water utility? Okay, pumping expense, power purchase increasing by $8,000 based on need. The combined increase is 7.2 coming from MG&E. We use a lot of power in water utility. Water treatment expense, the maintenance of water treatment equipment, we're decreasing that by $1,000, and that's, again, based on lack of need. Maintenance of meters, the meter annual software and fees increasing by $2,300, and that's based on the contractual increases to the Beaker Meter program. Administrative and general expense increasing, a one-time increase next year for $16,000. We have to renew our 5-year certification for the required EPA updates to the risk and resilience assessment and emergency response plan. That will come back again in 2031. So once 2026 is passed, that budget will be reduced by that amount. The GIS mapping program, like the stormwater utility increase of 1,635. That's for the intern and licenses and software. Any questions for the water utility? Okay. Last budget, sewer budget. A big one every year, the MMSD disposal service increasing by $95,000. They typically have an 8 to 10% rate increase every year. So I took our 2025 amount and added 8% to it. And it gets us close. It's always a crapshoot at where they end up with their budget that they pass on to us, so. Maintenance of mains and laterals. Mains outside services increases by $7,000 as our 2026 pricing for cleaning and televising. We are slowly getting back up to 33% of the system. We went through a contractor change in 2024. Roto-Rooter no longer provides that service for Monona, so we had to go out for pricing, and this is based off that contract pricing. And then the last item would be the GIS mapping program, and the increase of $1,635 for that. Any questions for the sewer utility budget?
Just a reminder, when does MMSD provide the numbers and when do they come out?
Is always after we approve our budget, November.
You know, that reminds me, Brian, you were going to ask the representative from MMSD to come and speak at council.
Yes, I believe that request is still out there. They had their little open house, or they had an open house where we were invited, and material that was provided was not the level of depth that we were hoping to have a better understanding of. What are all the capital projects? Why does it keep increasing by so much?
I think every community is asking that same question.
And so they just tried to address it all at once with an event, and it really,
I don't think it covered what
right,
most communities were really.
Right.
So
yeah,
I think
okay.
it's still to come.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, that would be it for the operating budget.
So if there are edits, people can make any edits, or we can get a motion to cover it all at once, whichever is the will of the body.
I just have to say that, I know there's a few around the table that will understand what I'm saying, like, if you have experiences with other departments, I have to say, Dan, I really appreciate how you lay out your budget and how you lead off with that summary page, and it's very clearly presented, so thank you for the extra detail that you provide.
Sure, thank you.
Make most to approve the budget as presented today.
Second.
All right, take a pick. Any other questions that folks have? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. 6A is complete. 7 is the Public Works and Utility Operations Report. It's in the packet. Dan, is there anything key that you want to highlight for folks?
Just the two projects that are currently going on right now. The Kelly Place Stormwater If you've been by there, you've seen action. It's gonna ramp up quickly here. I believe they're working on the sanitary sewer relocation right now. The mill and overlay, they milled the streets yesterday, and I believe paving is gonna happen next week, Monday, if all goes as planned with weather.
Yeah.
And they would have been in here mid-August, but we had all that August rain and that pushed all their contracts back, so us being small quantity, their bigger projects got priority, so. We did work around the school schedule yesterday. We made sure we weren't milling at 7 o'clock when school buses are going through and whatnot, so. Payne and Dolan did a nice job working with us. And we did update the school with their paving plans, so.
That's great. I mean, I did notice that they were like starting and stopping throughout the day, so very, I'm sure many people probably appreciated that. I was like, just get it done.
Yeah, I mean, they're pushing the
That's a
back end of the
tricky-
schedule though.
Yeah.
The weather has, I think, after next week, they would only have a few more days to get the project done, so.
What is the anticipated completion date for the Kelly Place?
Next year,
Around this time next year.
without actually looking in the document, I wanna say, somewhere around prior to June 1st, maybe. They are going to get the bulk of the work done this year yet, so.
I notice all the, the topsoil is, and that is that they have stockpiled there, when they start the actual real excavation, does that just go away, or do they pile it on site and put it back, or is it?
Well, what's over at Healy Park is the topsoil, and they plan on reusing that. I believe the fill or the material that they take out is, they're gonna have to truck that off-site because they can't put it back in the ground with the big structure taking the place, so.
Sure, so that they start hauling that out,
Mhm. Yep. And that's why you see the barricades ready to go. They have the no parking signs up for when they get busy with that whole route. So that's already been communicated with the residents in that area. A blast ready for the website, you know, we're just waiting for that to happen.
Is there a reason that they're moving that dirt down to Healy and not just Maywood?
Maywood Park gets used
Gets used
quite
a
a
lot,
bit
too
more,
much.
whereas that part of Healy Park, I mean, other than the fishermen parking in the lot. Plus it's an easier one to maintain when they move out,
Sure.
so they have to bring that,
Back to grade.
yeah, they have to restore all that, so.
All right, we have a meeting October 1st, anticipating
More signs.
signs. What kind of signs?
On Owen Road, right past Monona Drive. Sometime in 2009, when that road was reconstructed, they had they had no parking from November to March-ish. And then somehow, when signs went back up, they stated something completely different, like no parking on the side.
Yeah.
Adam Knockreiner of the PD brought this to my attention. And because they want to extend the no parking zone to include the intersection with Anthony on that side. And that's where review of the records and digging up the ordinance document is like the current signage was never.
Okay.
So that request will basically come through and make it right. So the request will be to state what the current signs say and to extend that zone just a little bit through the intersection on the westbound lane. There's one that PD wants us to bring forward for Gordon in the construction zone. I still don't have the exact wording. that they- No, it would be permanent, because there's currently signage in that area. They want to further define that, so, not sure the exact language for that right now, but I believe it's gonna be an alternate side parking. Right now, I believe it's just one side.
And I think it depends on what section of Gordon you're in,
Yeah.
right? Like one, I think switches and the other is just static.
There's one more that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Riveting meeting in October.
Oh, it's a stop sign request.
Oh,
Actually, in your old neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Where Midmore bends.
Yep.
Um,
the Midmore Panther weird angle that you feel like you should stop, it doesn't feel right.
That's coming in as a request from the police chief.
That's a good one. Teresa?
Yeah, Dan, I just have a really high level question, a couple of them. So just for my own understanding, so tonight's total operating budget that we just approved, where would I see that on the document, like
So if you look
adding up?
on each spreadsheet,
Right, but is there just one?
no,
No.
That's what, so I would have to go through and add each one,
for,
which is what I was hoping that would
right,
not
so
be
if
the
you look
case.
at the general fund.
Yeah.
What I'm proposing is right around 0%.
Yeah.
For all of our general fund.
Yeah.
And we were allowed 3%, but if I can't justify the need to keep thousands of dollars, but yet still beefing up other line items I need, I'm gonna give that money back, but
Right.
there'll be a time, like next year, if I need to buy more salt, I'm gonna have to get that money back. But our utilities, based on certain circumstances, like the $16,000 for the EPA, you know, and the power increase, you know, those, we're gonna go above 3% on
Yeah.
that. But then there's also things that Mark has to do yet on the top end with his revenue projection to kind of balance that out. But as far as the general fund goes, we're sitting really good coming out of this department.
Yeah.
So
So if I remember correctly, the capital budget was about 9 million,
it's 8.7, I believe.
8.7, and so what is the total operating budget this year being proposed? Do you have that off the
Well,
top of
it's
your head?
difficult because are you talking about just out of Geo or the enterprise?
I don't have the department's total combined budget figure. I did not
Okay.
add that out.
So we're still at, okay, that's fair.
When you take all of our 11 budgets, we hold a pretty significant chunk of the city expenses.
Yeah. I just feel like for every department I chair, I should be able to rattle off like, what's the budget?
If you
Try
gave
to
me
be
like
better at that.
20 minutes, I could do.
No,
that
that's
math
okay,
for
that's
you.
okay. And then,
You could take those sheets though, and you could just add the
yeah,
bottom line
yeah.
to
Right.
say,
and that's what I thought I would do, and I'm like, it's gotta be here somewhere,
Yeah.
but I can't, I don't,
See, that secret is in Mark's computer program now.
And then tonight I just had a question I asked Brian, I couldn't recall. What's the status on the bus pads? Just, I have transit.
We're
next
doing
week.
more.
Yeah.
I think we're gearing up to do more this week. I think there's some on Dean. We do have some on Nichols to do here yet. But the plan is to have all those pads in by October,
That's what I
because we're
thought
gonna
you
be
said, so
diving
by
full into
October,
leaf season in October.
so all of the bus pads will be finished by October.
all of the ones that were identified.
All the ones that we can do. We have capital budget money requests for
Oh.
2026 for sidewalks that
Yes,
need 2
got
solar
it,
pads.
Got it.
Yeah.
So any that are not contingent on a sidewalk first going in, those will be handled before October. But if a sidewalk is necessary, won't be able to. do it
The
right
pads we should have in, all the pads we should have in before October. I think we only have like 4 or 6 more to go,
First,
not many.
All right, item 9. For adjournment.
Did we vote?
We did capital.
Oh yeah, Dave and Leslie. Okay.
Yep.
I'll move for adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you guys
And then you don't have to speak
for
to
another great
Brian's
meeting.
ears perk up on this.
Other what?